Hi, I'm Robert.
And I'm Chris. Welcome to Scallywag's Fishbowl. Today, we're going to take you on a tour around the fishbowl and look at all 89 tanks that we have, almost 2,900 gallons of water here in our house. So stay tuned.
Sounds like fun.
Great. So this is a 5-gallon all-in-one tank. It's got the filtration in the back. We've got two of those up here. And this one right now has Robert's. He's got pumpkin shrimp in here, but I think he also has orange. There's an orange lily in here somewhere. But it's growing some bell. It's looped way over. The moss grows really well in here. There's also a sword, and it's doing super well in this tank. No fish in here right now, just some shrimp. All right, so this tank over here is a 14-gallon cube. It's completely overrun with guppy grass right now. So if you're looking for guppy grass, it's on sale on our website. We have a ton of guppy grass. It's crowding out my crypts and anubias and swords. But in this tank, there are three, help me out, what are they?
Snowballs.
Three longfin snowball plecos in here. And then this is also my yellow shrimp breeding tank right now, along with a bunch of ram's horn snails. We do have quite a few of those as well, but there are shrimp in here and a fork as well, because I like to give them vegetables to eat. So the fork's got to come out, but quite a few shrimp. There's one panda cory in here as well. And this tank right now, it's not looking great because it's holding a sword and it's blocking all the light from my anubias, but this is my little betta. He doesn't have a name yet. He needs one. He's super cute, very interactive, loves his live foods. So this is a 5-gallon cube, sits on the kitchen counter next to the coffee pot. It has my baddest in it. It's desperately in need of an aquascape. Yeah, but these are super fun fish. They stare at me while I'm making coffee, begging for their worms. And I think we can actually give them a couple worms right now just to make sure they're good and full. So I just take my comb and dip it in and let the worms come off of it. They'll come up and eat it. Rinse my fingers in the water. I'm sure I've got worms on them. Super fun to watch them eat. They're looking down here. So over here are my 220 longs. This was meant to be a home for my green cubitai reservoirs, so you can see over here. But there are a lot of CPD fry in this tank and then in this tank as well. Both right now are just CPD grow outs. Green cubitais have never actually eaten my CPD fry, or that I've noticed kind of any sort of deterioration in the population. So they seem to be a really good tank mate for the CPD fry. Down here, I do have, this is a snowball shrimp breeding tank in addition to the CPD fry grow out. I don't see any up front right now. I haven't fed them yet today, so they might not be out here looking for food right now. Baji is looking for food. Hey, you. So this is my tall 55 in my living room. This is the last tank we have upstairs. If you order frog bit from us, this is where the frog bit comes from. It grows like crazy in this tank. It's got a hiker light on it. Red root floaters do especially well with the slate as well. I don't have any right now. But the roots grow really, really long. This is a new batch. It grows this in about a week. Every week I have to take some out of here. but they are shading out the rest of my plants, so they don't look too great. But this tank really just has, I would say, 5 or 6 dwarf neon rainbows. It's got some lampi rasporas. There's a daisy blue in here, as well as all my cull shrimps. So they're coming up with some interesting colors in here, since this is where I put my culls.
We see Skittles today.
All right, so that's it for out here. Let's go into the Nano nursery and check out everything that we've got growing in there. All right, so we're in the Nano nursery, which is also my office. Mostly in here, I do a lot of the shrimp breeding and the CPD breeding for our website. A lot of guppy grass comes out of here, and duckweed as well as ram's horn snails. So in this tank up here, right now, they're kind of hiding behind the guppy grass, but there are Celebes rainbows in here, and I'm hoping to breed them and get some eggs really soon out of them. The fish in here, I'm not going to talk about because I'm going to do escape for them and show you what's in there. Some super cool fish that I've been wanting for a while, so stick around for that. Down here, these tanks are growing out stem plants as well as swords for other projects and other tanks that I'm setting up. But these are my black angels that are growing out right now. There's also a couple of black striped mystery snails in here, and I'm hoping to get eggs from them, but I haven't had any yet. This tank over here right now is just growing plants. However, there is a baby swordtail in there. He was born in there and was just not willing to leave when his siblings did. So he's hanging out in there. We come around here. I've got a couple empty tanks that I still need to set up. These are breeding tanks. They're not going to look pretty or aquascaped or anything like that. This tank, I'm growing subswasser tang as well as red release shrimp. I don't have enough to sell yet, but they are definitely breeding and growing in there. This is a CPD breeding tank. I don't have any fryer eggs in there right now, so it's just a bunch of blue dream shrimp growing up in there. This tank has more cull shrimp. I don't get rid of them. I love them. So there's more cull shrimp in here. This tank here is currently holding all of my breeding male CPDs. We will definitely have to get some more footage of them because they're currently hiding behind their Java moss in the back. This tank right here is an awesome, it's doing great, but it's got a lot of CPD fry in it that are growing out. Plenty of these are big enough to go to their forever home. I need to get them size sorted. There's quite a few in there. This tank is a hot mess and a really good example of what happens when you have a nutrient imbalance. So in the case of this tank, it's probably breaking down of snail bits that haven't been eaten by my puffer, as well as that light being too close to the top of the tank. It's just a little too much par reaching down in there. I have treated it, but I'm going to take my pea puffer and, oh, look, there he is. Can you get him? A little bumblebee goby right there. He lives with the pea puffer. So they're going to move down a tank and get under some different lighting so they don't keep having this problem. And I'll probably put some more floating plants up here with shrimp because they won't care about those nutrients. So the last 4 tanks are kind of just holding tanks. Up here we're just growing guppy grass right now. This tank is a Blue Dream colony. This was the original one I set up. We made a video for this one. But there are 3 CPDs that are in here. and they need to come out because it looks like male, female, and I know there's one more female in here, so they're going to start breeding in there, and I would rather control that. So we'll get them out. This tank here is just growing out some, oh, they're way down here, daisy blue rice fish. They will be coming out and going outside in the pond. And then I'll back up down there. I've got yellow shrimp breeding and growing, as well as my daisy blue colony. These guys get really, really fired up in the morning with all that dark light. And do you see the duckweed in there? This light, look at the top of that tank, how well that duckweed grows, how huge, or not duckweed, I'm sorry, the frog bit is massive. There's some salvinia in there as well, but those frog bit coins are like 50-cent pieces. Massive. All right, so that's my Nano nursery. A lot of rainbow eggs, CPDs, and shrimp come out of here. So let's go downstairs and take a look at some of your tanks.
Sounds good. Hi guys, welcome to my office. Behind me here we have a 60-gallon tank that's currently holding the Star Sapphire growouts. There's just 5 of them in there. Clearly do not like the camera.
They do not like me being close to them, so it's going to be a lot of glare.
But these guys have just been in here about a week or so. I just put them in here. They came from a little tote to grow out in here. And this is just a 60 that I got somewhere. But it's going to be their home until they get bigger to go into something longer. Can't wait to see them show up and start showing their colors. Their bars are already coming in really nice. I do have a couple plants in there. They haven't killed them yet. We'll see.
Do they do well with plants?
A lot of them like to pick at them, and with these crypts, I've not had luck with any cichlids eating them. I didn't pull these because they're really planted in there, but if I see them start to go after them, I'm going to pull them out and save them. Down here is just a 100-gallon grow out. These are all of our OBs and Triarii grow outs, and then there's a couple others that are going to the big 180 at one point. So there is just the one Lethrinops in there, and the rest of these guys are all grow outs from the pond. They're starting to get too big for the pond, and I needed to separate them out a little bit and give some space, so they came in here. They're starting to show some really nice colors in there. Looks like we've got a couple of females that'll get separated. And that orange one's actually holding.
Uh-oh.
Not a boy like I thought.
Who's over here?
Over here we have the sulfur heads. This is their breeding tank and grow outs. We've got the one male in there who's in charge of everything, and a lot of little females.
These are on our website if you're looking for them.
We've got more in another tank that are showing way more color than these guys, but even the females have got little hints of blue on their face.
There he is.
He's camera shy.
His blaze is amazing, though.
He is super pretty.
He's the breeding male for this group.
I can't believe he's not going to come out. He's usually always out in front.
These guys are not shy.
No. These are the Lethrinops species we have. It's a species-only tank for them, and it's been planted a few times, and they keep pulling the Anubias out, and it just keeps growing like crazy. Little guppy grass in there. These guys don't hurt plants at all, it seems. They've never picked at them, done anything with them at all. So I leave them in there and let them grow. They don't mess with the snails. They are not aggressive at all, like some of the other cichlid species can be.
The big boy's hiding. All our boys seem to be camera shy today.
They don't want to be out, that's for sure. He's like, no.
They are beautiful, though. It's hard to capture the color on them, but they're iridescent.
Yeah.
It's It's one of my favorite fish to look at in here.
You got some more little males firing up. Look at him.
Yeah, he's showing off. Nope, not today. Not today.
There's that big
I
guy.
got you anyways, buddy. All right, what's next door?
Oh, no, you're good. This is the Scarlet Batis tank. It needs to be trimmed, actually, it looks like. But there's just the 3 Scarlet Batis in there, and a sponge and a heater. And these guys, this is one of my lowest maintenance tanks. I don't do any water changes to this ever. I just do little top-offs. And these guys eat live foods, so I don't ever put
there they are.
processed foods in there for them.
What do you feed them?
They eat everything that we grow. So baby brine shrimp, live blackworms, grindle worms. That's the majority of what they do eat. We thought we had a female in there, but I think I've just got 3 males. Down here, we see the polar parrot breeding colony. We see some parents. We've got some fry in there because they just had a good-sized clutch.
And they've actually bred these polar whites in here as well.
I think the polar whites is actually the parents to the clutch that's down there right now. That one that's down there is one of the parents.
Yeah, and she's chasing them away viciously.
I love these guys. They have great color, great personality, great trailers. They're pretty good parents. And again, they don't seem to mess with the plants at all. Like, those plants are in there. They're not doing the greatest, obviously, but they are alive. They do pick at them, but they're not eating them.
Who's over here? This is a 65 gallon or 60 gallon, right?
Yep. And it's got the Meloto. I cannot think of their name. I'll have to put it on screen or something. But they've got a great silver blaze and a black body, and it kind of does a really great transition. There's 2 males in there, and I think 3 females. I haven't had any luck with babies out of them yet, but I'm patient. I'm going to let them grow, and I cannot wait until they do.
All right, so probably the tank everybody sees the most of in your office.
Yeah, the 180. This thing's amazing. I love this tank. This is the only monster tank we've paid retail for. It's our first big tank that we set up. It was a lot of fun building, and we've had a lot of fun watching these guys grow. Jaguar was one of the first big monster fish to grow out in it next to the Oscars.
She's at the back of the tank, but she's massive.
Starry Nights was looking really good. They were one of our first little videos we ever uploaded, was them when they were really small. And here they've gotten much larger. That guy there, everybody asked me what he is. I have no clue. He was one of the first cichlids we purchased a long time ago from PetSmart in the assorted cichlid tank. He was a little aggressive in the other tank, so I put him in here, and he's been really chill ever since. He hangs out with everyone just fine. So
the Oscar really wants attention.
Look at him. He's like, look at me. Now, I did put that plant in there in hopes it would do it, but I don't think it's going to make it. It looks kind of sad. I can see where they've actually had bite marks out of it, and it'll probably be coming out.
How long do you think the pleco is?
I would say he's a good 18 inches.
A monster.
He doesn't quite touch front to back yet, but when he does, I'll be looking for him a new home.
There's the other Oscar.
The Viejas.
I was going to say.
Those guys, I think, are a breeding pair. They show similar behaviors. They try to act like it, but I just don't think anything will happen in this tank.
And the Oscars have laid eggs.
Twice now. Somebody ate them all, and I'm really thinking it's the Vieja that ate them. But fingers crossed that they do it again in the future, and I steal a rock before it happens.
Yeah, in a big tank like this, if they do breed, we're going to have to take their eggs out because they will get eaten. There's just a lot of tank mates in here who think eggs look delicious.
Yep.
Just one of the possible culprits.
Fishers, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there is a Synodontis in there that we don't see very often, but he's in there.
Somewhere.
He's usually in the skull, but I don't see him there today.
Very cool. Well, do you think we go to the rec room?
Sounds like a plan.
Awesome. Here we go. We'll just start right here.
Okay. Up here, we have 220 longs. These would be our snowball longfins and Fred, the retired firecracker swordtail.
3 more snowball longfins, 3 upstairs.
Yep. And these guys are looking great. We've only had them since maybe a couple months now, and I think they've already gotten a little bit bigger, but they all look great and healthy, and they eat really well. So excited to see them grow up and mature and grow their bristles.
This is the babysitter.
He was one of our first firecracker swordtails we got years ago, and he's retiring. I think he's kind of at the end of his life.
Poor guy.
Poor guy. Over here we have our Maltese, the Neolamprologus
multifasciatus.
Thank you very much. That's a hard word to say. These guys are awesome. They've been in here for a few years. This is our original colony. They've rearranged it multiple times now. And we've actually been able to pull babies out of here and start up multiple colonies from this colony.
Clearly a lot of ram's horns in here too.
Yes, just a few. You see some babies starting to peek out of some of those shells in there. Yeah. These guys are super cool. They're a little more shy right now because of the babies, and we got a camera up there, but usually they're all out and about and looking at you.
They're very fun fish. All right.
So down here we've got the breeding electric Lucaras. I've not scraped the glass or vacuumed or anything in this one just because they do have the babies in there and I don't want to disturb the parents. They've done really good. This is their 3rd or 4th batch, and they're taking really good care of the babies. They've got them all back there. Just looking really great. It's just them in here. There's no one else, so that we don't have to worry about anybody getting eaten or anything. And
no fry predation.
Nope. And my favorite thing about this is when they got moved in here, they went from a light substrate to a dark substrate, and immediately their colors changed. It was like night and day.
Yeah, they really do look very washed out on a light substrate, but when you put them on that dark,
oh man, they just pop.
They go crazy with the color. All right, I think they're starting to get angry at us. So let's look at the babies next door.
So these are our baby Bashardes. These guys are super cool. They are super pretty. These guys are very aggressive. If they're breeding, they don't like anyone, including their own kind. They will annihilate other fish. So they are, again, a species-only tank here. But they breed and reproduce really well, and they're really fun to watch in this tank.
They're so fun. So this tank's running a hang-on back. Most of our other tanks are running sponges, but we do have a few hang-on backs and definitely canisters on our really big tanks.
Yep. And the only reason I have a hang-on back on this one is because they were making a big mess digging pits, and it was just not staying clear, and I needed more mechanical filtration. So that's why it changed over to that.
Awesome. This is the fourplex in their rec room. This is in a big stand that Robert built for me. We still need to finish off the bottom. It's going to look pretty when it's done. Let's start in the upper left-hand corner. Talk about your fish up here.
So this started out originally as just a red and black tank, kind of themed, and over time it's grown into a planted tank with some live bearers. So we've got those firecracker swordtails, some tetras, The swordtails amazingly have been breeding, and there's a bunch of babies in there. I was really excited to have the Nana Akara in there. They haven't bred successfully yet. They laid some eggs, but they're just a super pretty species in there. They're really fun to watch and change colors when they are in breeding mode. But this tank is just fun to watch with all the plants and the hiding places, and the little sword babies are adorable.
Now, there's an anomaly.
I think it just ran.
Oh, it did run away from me. They're so shy. The glare is super bad.
Now this one has a hob and a sponge for the same reason. It was planted, it was super cloudy, so I've got both in it just to make sure that it stays clear, and that this is a tank again that doesn't get a lot of water changes because it is heavily planted and lightly stocked, unlike all my other tanks or your tanks. Over here we have another colony of sulfur heads. This is my attempt at some albinos. I had to add in some standard sulfur heads because the albinos were getting too aggressive. And when I got them, I was hoping to have more females than I did, and it looks like I only ended up with one female. So I'm going to be waiting a little bit before I actually get any straight albino breeding going on. But these guys have bred, and I've got some of theirs growing out, but they look like standard sulfur heads, not albino sulfur heads.
Gotcha.
Not yet.
Down here is the fattest little puffer you'll ever see.
Oh my goodness.
Because of all the ram's horns.
Yes.
This is a brackish tank. And besides that puffer who's playing peekaboo, there's a mud skipper in this tank that we're looking for right now.
Right there behind that log.
Let's see if we can.
This fins right there. And then he's back there at the back. And again, this is a brackish tank. This is the only non-freshwater tank we have, and the plants do really well in here.
Yeah, you can see. Is this a monstera vine and a pothos vine in here, right?
Yep.
And both of those do very well with the brackish water. We've had them in there for, well, the pothos vine's been a couple years, and we actually had to rip it out because it was taking over the entire tank.
It can get bad, and it's crazy how much it can take.
Yeah. And then this tank is a 75, and these guys are going to be moving soon to their new home. These are my favorite angelfish I have. These are Manicapuru redbacks that I got from dansfish.com. I also have my Bosemani Rainbows Atinjo collection, and it's pretty bright in here, so it's not doing a good job with the colors. And then these are actually some Geophagus that we got from our friends Jason and Joanna from Primetime Aquatics. Probably the last time we saw them at Aquashella in 2024. I can't remember what species they are, though. Do you know?
I want to say altifrons.
Altifrons.
But they're looking epic. They're growing really well. And their fins look so awesome. I can't wait to see these guys in that new big tank.
And this one guy hanging out. But this is our mystery snail reproduction tank. You can see we've got dark ones with dark feet. We've got yellow ones with yellow feet. We've got yellow ones with black feet. So a big mishmash of colors in there. But these guys will soon be moving over here into this empty 125.
This is our 180 grow outs. These are our displays. This is all of what we've grown or had. Everything that's been upgraded from the pond gets to come out to here and be on display. So a little bit of everything. We've got our yellow labs. We've got a sulfur head in here. We've got some Nairiis. We've got some OBs. This guy's super pretty. We have the parrot.
These are my breeding project males that I made.
Yep.
I love them.
I can't wait to see more of them come out of the next group.
Yeah. If you buy fryer eyes though on our website, this is the tank that they're coming out of. So these are really big boys. These are
5 inches easy.
yeah. Beautiful.
Some of our silverhead rollouts are in there, so.
Such a pretty boy.
Very pretty. The parrot is in there. It's kind of an odd one, but he was recommended to cut down on aggression. And believe it or not, it works. If there's a big bunch of aggression, he sticks his nose in it and just starts smiling, and everybody goes about their own day. So he's a good tank buster.
Yep, this is Sunny. He busts the aggression. He's the tank boss. No one gets to beat up on anybody under his watch. So this tank is running a sump, plants in it, and then the tank beside it will also be running a sump. And there's Gus. But if we come over here, who have we got in this is a 36-gallon bow front.
This is just some more growouts of our OBs and silverheads. Just needed a place, again, to separate them, cut down the aggression. These guys were a little bit smaller in size, so they get to stick together a little bit until they grow a little bit bigger. I see some females holding that I'll be pulling later. These are some of our juvenile silverheads we see in there, though, and those is what will be up on the website if you were that smaller size. They still have a super sharp blaze already, though.
You sure do.
This here's your 100.
Yeah, so a lot of these fish are now at a point where they've been inherited. Take a tank and then someone says, you know, you have to take the fish with you. So a lot of the fish in here are not my original fish purchases. It does look pretty gnarly right now. It's covered in trumpet snails, so we need to do something about that. That gourami is one of my favorite fish that I have, though. He's so derpy. I love him. The rainbows in here, I don't know the varieties or the swordtail because they all came with other tanks that we needed to get and reseal, but this is my loach. He's on snail duty, but as you can see, he's had a fill of snails. He's taking a break.
A little round, actually.
He's a little round. The scape did look really well, really nice at one point, but it needs to be redone again. Those rainbows look really pretty in there.
They do. They look sharp.
All right, who have you got over here?
Over here, these are our 240s. These are the Madoka white lips. That's our breeder, male and female, just in here chilling, hanging out with one of the leprinops. Needed to separate some aggression out. These are the guys that weren't being so aggressive, so we're just letting them hang out in here for a little bit and grow. They have bred for me previously. I'm not encouraging it because they're still a little on the small side, so if they're going to take their time, they can. They're just super pretty. And then down here, this is your breeding project of OBs that came from those males we talked about earlier in the 180. All these guys came from the same set of parents, except for one of the sulfurhead, and that's Lucky.
He actually ate all of his tank mates, which were my platinum rice fish, because he somehow managed to jump out of his tank and get in the rice fish tank. Grew up in there and ate his friends.
I have no clue.
No clue.
These guys here just growing, hanging out, looking amazing. They came out with some really great color. Just, I couldn't be more proud.
You're super cool. I'm very interested with these ones.
I think the ones that are got that yellower tint to them that look like a cow kinda are gonna be females.
I would like if they would whiten up a little bit, but they look cool.
Just have to see. Give them a little bit.
All right, well, let's go take a look at the blue room.
Okay, sounds good.
Let's talk real quick before we go in the blue room about this. So this is always a hot mess, but we have a sink right outside the blue room, which makes everything really easy. And we do have RO hooked up as well. So very helpful for some of our species that need a little RO cut in with their water changes, like plecos.
Yep, absolutely. It helps with anything that wants a little bit lower of a pH or a hardness than what we have out of the tap.
So this is the warmest room in the entire house. We heat this room and not the tanks. Where do you want to start?
This room, let's start over here. So this is a brand new tank. This is the last tank that I set up. This is a 29.
I can't
It
actually
has
reach. When I do that.
our inkfin calvus. These guys are brand new. Dan from Claws and Paws ordered them for us. And there are 4 of them in there. We refer to these guys as little mini monsters.
We just passed one in front of the Nubius.
Oh yes, there he is. They're still super young, maybe 6 months old at a guess, and that's just a guess. But I'm super excited to see them grow out. And then down here, we have a 20 long. This has got the L306 plecos in it. I highly doubt we're gonna see anything in here today because they hide all the time. But it's just a 20 long with a bunch of breeding cones for them, and then they like a little flow, so I put in a pump on a sponge and it's just cycling the water in a circle for them so they get like a river effect. Let's see, I don't see anybody at all right now. Oh wait, there's one. Yeah, the glare's terrible. This is our pleco grow-outs. These are the L134A babies, and I think there's like 5 green dragons in there. This is where they get to hang out and grow after they come from the breeding tanks. You see some healthy, happy little baby bellies. And some long flowing fins.
See the green dragons.
Yeah. I had to take down the tank and was redoing it, and they were in it, and they came in here. I love plecos. I love that piece of wood that they've got in there. And these guys here have a sponge and a hob and a power head just to create a little flow in there. They try to keep it clear and things moving around for them. I really think the plecos like an option to be in more flow and out of flow because you'll see them in both. So, and that is the coolest piece of wood.
Yeah, it is. So lots of PVC pipe tubes as well. You don't have to use the ceramic tubes for the plecos. They will use these as well.
Yep, no, they'll absolutely breed in them. You can put flats on them. As long as the male can trap the female in there, he's happy. These are OB Lawandas.
Oh my goodness.
He's clearly startled a little bit. This is a breeding pair. They've got a fresh batch of fry in there that was born on the 22nd of last month. That's batch number 3 for these pairs, so letting them grow out in the tank. They're still very, very small, but they're up to where they eat powdered food now, which is exciting.
What do you have in here?
Oh, these are one of my favorite foods to feed. These are yours. These are grindle worms. These are our attempt at trying to start some more cultures. So I've got some coca-cola in there. And then I just took some dirt out of each one of our grindle worm starts and put it in there, and I've been feeding it. I'm going to feed again today, but so that we can have grindle worm starts available for others.
Love the grindle worms.
They're amazing. These are our juvenile Kyoto flinbacks. These guys are all ready to go. They are clearly showing colors, so we can tell who's male and female. There are several females in there holding already. But they are one of my favorites. They're like the Skittles of the Victorian supports. They are just super colorful, with rainbow colors on each one. And they're super personable, and they're little pigs. They don't let no food hit the ground ever.
They do like to hide behind the sponge every time I try and take their picture.
Only when you got a camera do they get shy.
What are these?
These are our yellow Benga sunshines. That's our breeding male back there in the back, and a couple of his females, and then all of those are his fry. And they're just growing up, waiting to see who's going to be boys and girls. There's 3 batches of fry in there from my last count. And and this is their tank. It's a species-only tank for them. And he's the only adult male. I like him. He's amazing. He looks perfect to me. So this is 55. It's got, again, a sponge and a hobble in there. Just because they're cichlids, they dig. I want it to be a little bit clear. So extra filtration.
Yeah. So if there's noise, this is the source of the noise. What is this? What is this contraption you've got going?
Well, what I did is I wanted to grow more live blackworms. The live blackworms did really well in my pleco tanks, and I watched how they grew, and I took some inspiration from stuff I've seen online, and I kind of did my own thing with my limited space. So I just had a pump pumping water from the tank up into here, just that bed of gravel, and there's a good sized colony of live blackworms growing in there.
I just startled them so you can see them move.
I haven't pulled from here yet. My goal is to get the whole thing covered before I start harvesting out of there. But they're doing really well, I think, so far.
Yeah, there is a ton sticking up.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. I think it's looking really good. I think that the worms have to have a lot of flow to actually thrive and not die off. I think it has something to do with it. So those worms are on top of a 125.
What's in the bucket?
In the bucket, we've got some L144A pleco babies. Yeah, I kicked them out for some reason. I'm not quite sure why, but I saved them, and they have their lip sacs still attached. And all in that corner there.
Oh, okay, I found them.
A bunch of little bitty babies.
So you've got duckweed and salvinia.
You know, you can't have a tank without duckweed around here. Down here we've got some severums that we just got from Dan at Claws and Paws. And then I've got my two breeding viejas. I'm trying to get them to breed. They've laid eggs a couple of times for me. Just not fully getting it all together yet. But they have a nice long stretch. And of course, everybody's shy because we got the camera out. Usually the severums are out and about right in front.
Oh my god, someone wants to come out and be personable.
I'm gonna try to be a little social. Such a pretty fish. And these guys do eat plants. They're not nice to plants. They think they taste like chicken. Not the floating plants, but they ate every other plant I put in the tank. And the severums are known for that, so I don't even bother. So we just have the fake plants in here, and then the giant lily sticking out of the top.
That's the giant lily sticking out on the top, doing some filtration power.
Get a little less shine. Now look at them.
These guys are not that shy.
No, these guys are the opposite of shy. So these are just our OB grow outs. There's just a bunch of them in there. These all came from one female, so I'm excited to see what they're going to turn into because there's a huge variety in there.
And we got her when she was folding, right? We got the fry when
Yep.
you stripped her, and then we took the fry.
Yep. Brought them home, and here's what we're with a couple months later. I like the dragon look that some of them are going to have. It's going to be interesting. Over here, we've got a blackhorn dorsal female. She held, and then she just looked a little sick, so she's in quarantine now. Just keeping her by herself and in a tank so she's not stressed and a little cleaner. Just to make sure she puts some weight on and looks normal. She looks a little beat up. I don't want anything to be wrong with her, so that's why she's by herself. In this 40, we've got a bunch of Congo tetras, which are awesome. I hope to breed them one day, but what's in the back hiding are the black acaras, and they are super shy, super timid. They only come out after I've been in here for a few minutes and I've not moved around or done anything. They've laid eggs once, they ate the babies, or somebody ate the babies, so I hope for them to breed again. But for now, they're just being cool little acaras. Not right now, though. Which way you want to go?
Let's let's go up over there.
Okay, up over here, I don't know if we're gonna see them or not, but these are the breeding Kyoga flameback parents to the juveniles we just saw, and they're both hiding. I've got this divider in here because Dad's is very mean, he's very aggressive, I can't keep them together very long. I wait until they start to show behaviors, I take it out, I add it back, etc. So I don't think we're going to see them at all today because Dad is actually back there behind that clay pot. And that would mean Mom's behind hers too. Okay, in here there are some crebensis pulchers in here. This is our little breeding colony. Looks like all the adults are hiding back there behind that sponge. But again, another tank only, or species only tank. Tank only. And then these guys, I had been calling little cows because they were just silver and white or black and silver, black and white, whatever. But these are zebra obliquitums, and they're actually starting to color really nice now. Doing really good up there.
I love those. They're cute.
They're really adorable, and they're fun. They like to come to the front. Can I get them? Not today. Up here is a 60 breeder. It's got a sponge and a power head and another hob on it. These are tetrastigmatas. There's the male down there in that tube. He's got several females up there, and I got a divider to kind of keep them a little separated because there's quite a bit of aggression going on. Get that female over there holding right now. And it looks like 2 out of those 3 in the back are holding as well, so that's great. All right, here we have the black orange dorsal 55. It's a species only tank with the black orange dorsals in there. And that's the breeder male there and all of his females.
Got a little scratch on his side right now.
He does. There's a little bit of aggression. I think I've got to get that male there out so that we can kind of alleviate some of that aggression, because he's starting to look really, really good and probably challenging Dad. So up here, I've made these little breeder bins. These are my little fry grow out bins. I just cut some holes in them, cut sponge into it, and then I dropped an airline in it to keep it circulating. And all I do is use this with plants or whatever I've got, and I let the fry grow out in there. So these are Obi Lawanda fry, very small ones in there. Over here, we've got a group of black orange dorsal babies. And these guys were born on 5/2. These guys were born on 5/13. And this is another batch of Obi Lawandas. And again, they're just little clear tote buckets that I cut a hole in for the sponge back here at the back. And then I drop an air stone in it just to make sure that there's tons of circulation. I don't ever want them to be flat or stagnant, and I just feel better about that.
And we use guppy grass with a lot of our fry just to make sure that we're getting all the nitrates that we can out of there so that we don't burn any gills or have any problems like that. A lot of our tanks are what you consider typically overstocked, but they're not overstocked for the way we run our tanks because of the way we do our filtration, the way we do our water changes. Our parameters are always in check or being corrected if they're not in check. So It's just, you will see a lot of tanks in here that do look like they have a lot of fish in them, but they're all running very well. And a lot of that has to do with the floating plants that we use. So duckweed might not be the prettiest, but in a breeding setup, it's kind of magic, you know?
Yep. I love the plants. No matter how bad they are, like you said, they help export everything. And then these little plants here will help when...
Guppy grass.
Yeah, guppy grass or anything that'll grow and create these little nooks, give places for guys like that to survive. So normally he'd be eaten and gone, but because he's got that grass in there, those plants and places to hide, I think that they help a lot.
Definitely. Awesome. So do you think we should go ahead to the fish hall?
I think we should.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, we made it to the fish hall. This is the top row of 20s in the fish hall. In here are our L144A, or the long fin blue-eyed lemon plecos. They had some squash last night, or zucchini, one of the two. That's what's left over in there. If we look in here, this is one of my colonies of the white blackworms. And there's just a huge group of them.
And the pluckers don't seem to bother them or eat them, or at least take away from the available amount. They're not putting a dent in them.
No, not at all, because I just fed out of this tank yesterday and the day before. And you couldn't tell. Because I've been feeding heavily here lately, and it's nice. So this 20 here is another 20 for the multis. This was the first setup that we did from our colony that we saw previously. So in here, these guys aren't as shy right now, it seems. But they're super cool, super fun to see. They are one that will go to the top when it's feeding time, so you'll see them all and they'll come out and pop up out of nowhere. This last 20 up here are our long, thin green dragons. This has got a sponge, a hob, and a power head in it, just because I like the flow and I feel like they do too. Get rid of some of that glare here. And they had some squash last night. Still early, so we're not seeing as many as actually in there because lights are still on. And this last tank here has got our ivory tower snails, I believe. We have a pair of them. There's one there. And then one back here over on the back.
I would have to look them up, but they look like a rabbit snail to me, but it's definitely a different snail. They're incredibly cute.
They are. They're super cool. They've been fun to watch eat. So,
okay, let me take this from you. And why don't you start with this tank here?
So this here is a 29. It's got my first batch of Madoka white lips in it. These guys were born on March 4th. I think there's only like 6 or 8 of them in there or so. It was a small batch. It was their first batch, so I didn't have high hopes for it, but they seem to be doing really good in here. So just them and one pleco, I believe, and they don't mess with him. So, and they're not eating those plants.
They sure aren't.
This here's a 10. These are holding just some electric blue acara grow outs and a couple of crib grow outs as well.
These are the electric blue acara that are listed on our website.
Yep. These would be the guys you would get. And these guys are super adorable. Even with no background, they have great color, great personality still.
But you can kind of see what we were talking about before. Without a dark substrate, they look a little more washed out.
Yep.
So with that dark substrate like their parents have, they would darken up.
They miss some of that darker tones. They're still pretty, but they would do much better.
Yeah.
Over here we have some Santa Claus swords. These guys are doing good. It's a koi-only tank. It's got plants. Nothing much really with it. I like koi swords, and I've got a couple growing, so this is one of them. Great color, great personality little fish. They like to eat.
These are great.
These here are a group of OBs from a project that we've got going on. I had a little bit of a sickness going in here. I'm not sure what was going on. They all got real skinny. I'm assuming it was a parasite. I had treated it and did big water changes. That's why it looks really, really clean. And so we're just kind of monitoring the next 2 weeks now.
Was it an OB sulfur head project?
It may have been.
I see stripes that look like sulfurs.
I don't know who the dad was, but I did pick the mom, so we're going to see what she comes up with.
Okay. Yeah, that looks you right there, my friend.
Yeah.
When he turns there, he's got that.
We may end up with some blazes out of that. This is a shrimp tank. It's just got shrimp in there. I don't do anything with this tank other than make sure the shrimp are okay.
What kind of shrimp do you have in here? Oh, I see a cherry shrimp.
Yeah, it's all coals really is what it ended up being from the other tanks that we've had. And it just does really good, and I like to see the shrimpies in there. And if they get big colorful ones, we'll see what comes out of them.
I like our coal shrimp.
This is the attempt at red relays that I've got going on. I've noticed some more that were more solid red lately, and I'm not sure why, but
You'll have to call your line.
Yeah, it's
I'll
just
show you.
there's a bunch of them in there. They're doing really good. So the babies, I think, need to get a little bit bigger before we see if they're going to be really or not. I can't tell if it's just going to take time for them to grow. I'm not sure.
They'll have to. Yes, they will. They'll need to get a little bigger.
But they're definitely pretty in there. This here's a quarantine tank. That's one of my male Madoka's white lips. He kind of got beat up a little bit, and he was looking really, really rough for a few days. So I pulled him out and quarantined him in here. I've not done anything major with him as far as trying to treat him at all. Just clean water every 3 days, and I've got a big fat tablespoon of salt that goes in there with it. And then other than that, it's just him in that tank. You can see he looks rough right now, but I tell you, he looked worse before I put him in there. And he's swimming right now. He looks good. He's not breathing hard or anything. So I feel he'll recover in the next couple weeks.
I think he'll heal up just fine.
Yep, I agree. These over here are one of my favorite swords. These are the koi swords we've got, and they've been breeding for us. Again, just a little tin with some plants in there for them, keeping their water clean. And there's a few babies in there. They're a little scared.
I saw one up in the plant.
See, I thought I saw one right here.
Yeah, I see one up in the plants right now.
Yeah, look at those little colors. I can't wait for more of them to come out. I love the black and red look, so I want more of them to have that look there.
They look like they're dressed up.
They do. Ready for a party.
Absolutely.
These guys here are your blue dreams.
I found them. They're all up the top today.
Yeah, and there's a bunch in there. I've noticed I have to take a flashlight to find them all because some of them are so blue they almost look black on that bottom. But it is crawling with blue dreams in there. It's a really great tank. Once it got set up and going, it's just been running like crazy. And it's one that we don't do a lot to. It doesn't get near as many water changes as the rest of them because the shrimp don't like that.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
It's one that when we're doing water changes, I always have to coordinate with the kiddo to skip the shrimp tanks.
What kind of fry do you have in here?
Oh, try not.
I don't see a label.
Those would be the OB fry that came from your breeding tank over there.
Okay.
It was a yellow female, and I'm hoping one of the colorful males is the dad.
Okay. Jump some plants here. We'll look down here, and then we'll look at our totes.
It'd be hard to see in there, but those are going to be some long-fin green dragons somewhere.
I saw.
There's one on the back glass over there.
I saw one when I first came over. Where did?
These are only like 8 or 10 in there, just separated to grow out. Keeping more than one tank of them going.
Oh, I finally found one on this sponge. Yeah. There's another one on the glass behind them.
They look awesome in there. They love that wood.
There's a lot of tannins in this tank, so it looks a lot darker.
It's very tannins. I honestly don't think you can keep plecos without wood. They love it so much.
All right, so we do grow outs in tubs as well, just because it gives us additional space for the fish.
In here we have electric yellow labs. I'm kind of getting them to move a little bit, yeah. But we've got a good colony of them. We had a tank filter have some problems one time, and we lost the majority of them. And these are the guys that survived, and we're raising to build our colony back up. This here is a quarantine tank for the Lethrinops. I think they had something going on, a parasite of some kind, and they were just getting really skinny, so I quarantined them all together. You can't see anything in there at all, unfortunately.
I did see some right down here, but yeah, it's hard to see in this tote.
Yeah, that's why I usually have a flashlight for that. And then those are all obese cichlids, grow outs. Those would be from the big male in the 180 and one of the females out of the other tank. But they should
narrows it down.
I know, right? I know which tank is the other tank. I just can't remember right now.
Which tank's the other tank?
That one in there.
Let's look at the last, the only real pond we have in the house, but this is in our furnace room. This is one of the grow outs before they start going into into the display tanks for sale.
This thing's awesome. It's 150 gallons. It's got one canister filter on it, and I think I've got 3 big sponges in it. And then obviously a bunch of wood to kind of keep line of sight breaks and stuff going. But it's full of our homebred babies. It's usually really colorful, but
there's a lot of surface tension right now. Like the surface is breaking, but the blues look really good, even though it's reflecting.
Yeah, I just saw a sulfurhead swim by, and his blaze was beautiful. But this is one of the places we keep them to grow out, so they have plenty of space.
All right, so all the lights in our fish room just went out, so I think the fish are ready for bed. We got this one back on so we could say thank you so much for stopping by and walking through our fishbowl with us.
Hope you had fun. Hope you enjoyed, saw something you liked. If you've got thoughts or want to know more,
leave a comment below. And if you're still here, give us a like and a subscribe. It helps so much. Appreciate it. Website is scallywagsfishbowl.com. That will be down in the description as well. But if you saw anything you like or you'd like more information about any of the species that we have, just leave a comment. We'll try and get to it. Thank you. Bye. Let's do a
or second.